Hello, everyone. I am here today to talk to you about um, the ways in which children need to learn, which I find nowadays is something that's skated over very quickly. Our children are seeing people become influencers and receive many likes and follows and money as a result of them sharing their experiences in life. And nowadays, it's more easy than ever for a child to acquire what it is they want in any aspect of their living. We find that the internet is readily available at their fingertips. And I love a quote that I saw recently, which was that, and I don't remember who said it, but when we give the internet, when we give a phone or a device to our child, we think that we are opening up the world for our child, but we're really giving our child to the world. And that's so true in the sense that our children begin to act differently, behave differently, replicate what they're seeing online from different influencers, replicate certain behaviors they're seeing from other, actors or actresses. And so now more than ever, it's easier for a child to be able to acquire money or a gaming system or somebody's approval, somebody giving permission for them to see something or do whatever it is that they're wanting to do, whether that be going to the candy store with a friend alone or being able to see something that, was only shared with one other person, but has been leaked to the child. So I think that now more so than ever, we really need to come back to the basics with our children, especially because their whole wide world has opened up and they are very much exposed to the world and its influences, and not just its, not just its positive aspects, which is great, but also its negative aspects and its aspects which are not age appropriate many times. So I think that you are faced with a big challenge, just as I am as well, of being a parent in 2024 and facing all those dynamics and how to control and monitor things in a healthy way for our children so that they only see what's best for them to see, so that they're only influenced by those that are best to be influenced by, et cetera, et cetera. So with that in mind, come back here with me to first grade math. You may think from your adult mind, or, maybe you're a teenager, maybe you're in your 20s. You may think that first grade math is so easy. But to a first grader, it's not. And if you're a parent, then you know the value of reflecting on how you felt as a child growing up with your parents as a way to decide and decipher what you will or won't do with your own children. And that's a pretty big deal for most of us parents, pretty much all of us parents. We don't want our children to have certain experiences that we were having. The only tricky thing about that, especially living in today's times, is that we can by our own default, provide our child with something that doesn't serve them later on. And one thing that I do see happening, not just in education as a whole, but for parents as well, is a lack of understanding the basics and what's really essential and really needed for a little kid in their development, in their learning, and in their growth. So we're going to focus today just on math and the foundations of math. And when I use the word foundations, I'm speaking of the very simple basics, the beginning stages. In first grade math, as you can see here, using a website I've often cited in previous videos and posts, that children are to be able to count to 100, count to 120, skip count, compare up to 10, understand addition, addition strategies up to 10, etc., etc., etc. Now, when we're talking about learning, learning is not something that one acquires quickly and profoundly at the same time. Unless, of course, they're being taught in a very qualitative way with a lot of presence and precision, which is something that I offer here through my academic coaching services. But if you just look here, just with your own eyes, you can see that the first impression is, wow, that's a lot to learn, right? The number of things that we see here on the screen tells us that's a lot to learn. So if a child is taught how to add, which seems so basic to our adult mind, 1 + 1 is 2. I gave you an apple, now I'm giving you another one. How many do you have now? Our adult brain says, it's so easy, kids should learn that so fast. Why is there a need to focus so heavily or spend so much time on something here when it's so basic? However, when we slip away from forgetting how things were when we were a child in school and how hard or difficult things were back then, it removes us from understanding our child and where they might be coming from in their stance. So I would encourage you to put your feet in their shoes, metaphorically for a moment here, and imagine that you don't know any math at all, and you're just a little kid. When we are talking about addition and subtraction, we're not only talking about 1 + 1 = 2, we're also talking about patterns that show up in numbers, connections that addition has with subtraction, connections that addition has with multiplication, connections that subtraction has with division. And by the end of 3rd grade, children are expected to be able to multiply more than 1 digit by another. It's not just 1 digit by 1 digit, 6 times 7. They're also expected to be able to understand the basics of division. And so if we take that old style way of teaching or learning and we apply it to our kids now, we, as well as them, are doomed to fail. Learning is not the accumulation of information. Learning is taking anything and getting really good with it, really, really strong with it, to the point that you're at a level of mastery and mastership. So children not only need to understand what this sign right here means, what this sign here means, what this whole thing is, what this sign here means, but they also need to understand that 3 plus 4 is 3, 1, and then count 1, 2, 3, and be able to understand the number that comes next and have that memorized, but also putting them together. And you know, one of the things that I see children struggling with the most when it comes to this is focusing. Children are very hardwired at a young age nowadays to get what it is that they're wanting and asking for, because the internet is available in so many places, because other children are getting what they want to be getting, and it's just like this vibe that's everywhere for children. And while you may do things at home to shelter your child or keep them out of that space, that environment, that influence, it's a very real reality in the schools, at the stores, around others. So after children learn, each item is another thing. This is the addition sign, this is the subtraction sign, this is the equal sign. This is an equation. Yes, first graders need to understand the word equation. Can you believe that? I know. Then they need to be able to apply a skill that many of them do not have, which is focus, to be able to bring them together and understand that adding is when we bring things together and we find out how much total, and subtraction is when we have things apart and we find out how many is left. All these different pieces, which cannot be learned without focus and attention to detail. And so on my recent posting, my article that I posted recently about reading and its importance over all the other content that's taught in schools, we can see that there's a need for going one teeny tiny step at a time and understanding each element and understanding each piece sequentially, one after the next, to reach mastery. To get to a point where the child just knows 5 plus 5 is 10, 4 plus 3 is 7, 10 minus 5 is 5. We are indoctrinating our children into believing and perceiving that they have to be robots as an adult and all through their life, by saying, okay, here's something you need to learn, here you go. Here's something you need to learn, here you go. And rushing them through that process and not giving them their brain time to think and really move through the stages of understanding a concept. Because once all of those things are attained, the child is then expected to show memorization with their facts, subtraction and addition facts. Oh, 8 minus 4 is 4, so 4 plus 4 is 8. That really trips children up when they start learning that. Wait a minute, subtraction is separate than addition, I thought. No, they're connected, because 3 plus 4 is 7. But guess what? 4 plus 3 is 7. 7, take away 3, is 4. 7 Take away 4 is 3. There's a lot of connections being made for children at a very young stage when the brain is most malleable, most open, most receptive to learning, to taking it all in. Do you remember when you were young? Take a minute right now and just think back when you were young. Every experience was such a amazing thing. I remember when I was young, I had a pink pen, and I want to say it looked something like this one right here because it had that bright color, and there was something about it. I was captivated by that pink pen, and it was brand new and it was mine. I felt happy when I saw that pink pen. The color did something to me. And as we know, studies have been done to show the effects of color on our moods, which is why I believe it's so important to incorporate so much color in the classroom and at home. Something isn't just something to a child's mind. They're completely imaginative, completely open, and completely willing to accept whatever's going on around them that feels right to them, like feels true. Because they're so themselves when they're at a young age. They're not worrying about this person, what they think, or anything like that. They're not developmentally there yet. Their brain isn't, they're just so pure, so innocent. So the natural progression of learning is to start at one level and increasingly go up to the next, to the next, and to the next, and so on and so forth. So let's pretend this is first, second, and third grades. By end of third grade, children need to be able to understand the connections between addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, have all of their addition and subtraction facts down, like 7 plus 3, 7 minus 3, and memorized, have all their multiplication facts down and memorized, understand division and all of its different steps, so that they can move into fractions at a more complex level in fourth grade, and so on. So the biggest thing we parents can do is allow the time for our children to process things. How do they feel about somebody who just passed away? Do they fully understand what they're learning in their math? Do they need intervention with a coach like myself, academic coach? Do they need more time reading every day with a book that's interesting and fun so that they'll want to read, so that they'll make a positive connection to reading? Learning takes time, and it's never ending. And we do our children a great disservice when we expect them to understand things quickly, like a robot would. We can't just put things in their brain. It just doesn't work that way. So if you have a first grader, the most important thing, in my professional opinion, of 19 years with children and families is for them to have addition and subtraction down so strong, have plenty of time and practice and experiences that are robust and qualitative and not just like checking it off the list, because that's not learning, as well as time with the letters of the alphabet and all of their different sounds that they make. I spoke with a parent recently who knows not only one, but 5 other languages, including English. And I have heard this for so many years now. And now teaching first grade, for my first year of teaching first grade, I've taught 3rd, 2nd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 8th grades, by the way, over the last 19 years. This is my first year teaching first grade. It makes complete sense. Why? I have heard people repetitively say that English is one of the hardest languages to learn. I before E except after C. It only works sometimes. The C has a S sound when it has a vowel after it. It only works sometimes. CH says cha. Sometimes. Oh, the ka sound is made by a C. Other times it's a K, other times it's a TK. Do you see how confusing that can get for a little child? We cannot just put these things in their brain. Input, input. They are not robots. They're beautiful, shining, wonderful individuals that we look up to every day to remind us of how we were when we were a child, to remind us of how pure the world can be seen through our eyes, and to remind us of how happy we can be and carefree. And because of that, their potential is so great in those first 5 years. So great. So if you want your child to do well in their learning, they're going to need the time and the patience and the practice to master these different domains of learning, just like you needed time to master your own professional field, just like I needed time to master my own professional field. I hope this was useful and helpful for you today. And please remember that there is so much more going on to a child that's struggling than meets the eye. So if you resonated a lot with this video today, and if you feel like your child has missed a lot of those foundations, and you're not really sure where to start, or you've tried tutoring and it's not working, please reach out and ask for help. Ask me what I can do to help your child. My name is Miss Dilly. I struggled as a child for many, many years because nobody understood my brain and how it worked. Until I had to figure out how my brain worked and what I needed best, and teach myself a lot of things to the level of mastery that would have helped me succeed where I failed unnecessarily for too long. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope you're having a wonderful spring break vacation if your child's on spring break. And as always, be well.